Now everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I do want to go through Bitcoin here. I did go through Bitcoin briefly a couple days ago. Come a video is basically just eyeing the brand support band, thinking that hey, there's a support level here. Last time during the entire bull market here of 2015, 2017, it really was serving as a perfect support bounce all the way up here, right? There's no lie here at all. I mean, granted, you have some wicks that just kind of way underneath of that on the way up, but it was serving as a very, very good bull market support band, exactly what the namesake of it is. It was also a very good bear market resistance band as well, right? During the cycle after that, you can see how it just kind of bounced off it just once, and next thing you know, once we broke out underneath of it, if we're unable to reach back up about like we did over here, it was serving as resistance and things just kind of plummeted from here, right? This cycle is a little bit different. This cycle actually looked very, very, very tough because we just end up breaking underneath the bar support band, end up breaking back above, kind of bounced off of it and broke back down underneath of it, and it broke back above, right? Every single time we broke back down below it, it usually spent about like, a couple of months. Here it spent about 3 months, sorry, 2 months over here. Here it spends about maybe 3 or 4 months over here going sideways, trying to reclaim it. Right now, we kind of broken underneath of it. Right now is only Thursday, it's still early, but we have broken underneath of it, right? Could this just be a big giant wake up out and grab liquidity? It possibly. But right now we are underneath of it, so it is what it is. We would like to see how the week closes, but currently is under the support, and it just kind of went underneath support just like that on slightly increased volume. The volume actually is not great, so we'll see whether or not this turns out to be the way that it ends up breaking below this week. The other thing too was when I was looking at the Gann chart here, also looking at the arc over here, I was wondering whether or not the arc could potentially hold here around 87,000 or something like that. And nope, end up not holding, end up just kind of breaking inside. Now, could this all end up being just a wick potentially by the end of the week? That's always a possibility, but it's currently is below. So what can I say, right? What is going on though in terms of support levels? Well, you are kind of getting a little bit closer to the weekly kitchen over here. It did break down underneath the Tenkan, so we are eyeing some potentially lower targets. But if you are just doing a fib level, on linear scale here, if I get rid of the Gann to kind of give you a little bit better illustration here. What have we done? I mean, we basically just got rejected here at the 1.618 and came back down, couldn't hold 1.414, and it's just going to the 1.272, right? 1.272 right now is $83,562.88. That's kind of where we're kind of hovering at right around now. We're back testing that level. There are always going to be levels that's going to break down underneath or wick down underneath, or it's always going to go down, right? But the idea is to try and identify support levels so that if you're trying to scale in, or if you're trying to sell, try not to do it near support, and it could break down support after support. But overall, this is still very much a higher high and higher low type situation, right? There's really no reason for me to be super bearish on Bitcoin. Where is that right now? Up here, when people are getting a little bit euphoric and prices around 108,000, people think it's just going to keep going a lot higher. I did say, hey, I think price is going to end up getting stuck here for a while, end up getting stuck here for longer than most people think. Even me, I thought it was probably going to be about maybe two or 3 months, and right now it's on month 3, and we just had a big giant candle down, right? So we'll see whether or not the Gann level over here holds. Certainly seem like the fit level here is holding around 83.5K. It looks like it could be holding, but we'll see whether or not the arc over here potentially hold, and then even maybe, who knows, maybe all it takes just a little bit of a news or something like that. We're closing back about the bull support band up here around 88,000 or 90,000. A lot of people fail to understand that, yes, it is bearish. You have a bearish candle, sure. But if we end up having a bearish candle, that's not that bearish. If we end up actually having price kind of just leaving a big wick down below, it's actually a pretty good setup for further bullish continuation. So we'll see. I'm not saying that we're going to end up breaking below. You can certainly just end up like hovering, go down on the arc here, or even get to a lower level of the arc over here, right? Although I don't really see any particular reason, because we are at a very, very important fib level right now. If you look at the daily chart, I have a daily Gann over here too. This daily gain, I've drawn this before. I think I was looking at it while it was up here, where it got rejected almost perfectly, right? And I saw this gain over here is just riding this angle down here almost perfectly, and just went up to the next gain arc up here. So right now, it's actually had a perfect bounce off of the 45-degree angle as well as the arc, right? That was a very, very confluent zone of support, and it bounced off of that. But today, we end up having to challenge that area right here again of the arc, right? Big wick down here below, big wick up here above. We're trying to challenge this area over here again. The market makers just wouldn't let this area here go, right? So here we are, we're challenging the area. We'll see what Bitcoin would do. But currently, I think I've seen a few pretty interesting things. One is like it's at the arc and the angle over here. It's also at a very important fib level, right? So I just wonder whether or not this could be it. And we have to see how it reacts from here. Initially, I think we get a pretty good reaction with the big giant wick here up below. But I would really like to see how the rest of the week goes, right? Like it's still a little bit early. We still have another 3 days before the week closes. So we'll see what happens. Right now, I do think that this 3 candle over here was on pretty good capitulation volume over here. So I think the capitulation has, for the most part, the big move has happened from this Bollinger Band squeeze over here. I think the big move has happened. And right now, we are trying to get back inside the lower Bollinger Band, although the price just really impulsive to the downside. We got back close to the lower Bollinger Band, but we haven't just getting rejected, and we just kind of hang out in space here. This is not really sustainable, by the way. Generally, price doesn't stay outside the Bollinger Band for that many days in a row. You can see how the uptrend over here, even then, you have to wait for price to kind of get back inside Bollinger Band before going up a lot higher, right? And usually, you don't end up going down that much, especially like something like this over here, where you have price back in August of 2024, you were August 5th scared, where price just kind of plummeted all the way down here to the 49,000. And that was right outside the low Bollinger Band, and sure enough, that was a really, really good bottom. I mean, granted, we came back and kind of back tested a little bit of the similar levels after that, just about a few weeks later. But that was a pretty good bottom, right? Because you have all these unsustainable candles. They're just way outside the low Bollinger Band. We're having the same thing here. Like, this is not really sustainable. Unless if this is the bear market and it just keeps on plummeting from here, but I just don't really see that, right? Like, that's not what I favor if you look at the overall chart. This is still very much of a higher, high, higher, low type situation. So, yeah, that's what I think about Bitcoin overall. We will see. I think we are at a pretty decent support level here, and we'll see what happens, right? I also think that's pretty interesting as Bitcoin had this big giant flush down. It did end up cooling down the Bitcoin dominance here at the same time, right? On the daily here, you can see the last 2 days when Bitcoin went down a lot over the last 3 days, Bitcoin dominance have barely budged, right? Whereas before, usually when Bitcoin goes down, a lot of people are going to be like, oh no, altcoin is going to plummet. You see, remember how like the February 3rd crash of altcoins, how altcoins just like basically severely underperform. And you see how Bitcoin dominance just went all the way up to the sky in like the 64% range, right? Here, we're not really experiencing that, even though Bitcoin is forming more lower low over here compared to all this lows over here. Your dominance actually has been holding up pretty strong. So that actually, I meant to say dominance is actually holding pretty strong, but it's actually gone down in the last couple of days, right? I think that altcoins are correcting together with Bitcoin right now, but it's not out of proportion like it was over here at the beginning of the month, right? Just look at Ethereum. It is going down here, but you have this big giant wick down here below, right? We haven't really even reached the bottom of the wick over here yet, right? Whereas Bitcoin's already broken down underneath this wick, right? You look at XRP, it hasn't even really reached that wick over there. You look at Dogecoin, it did end up filling the wick here with some candlesticks. And right now you got like a little bit of these kind of like trees or bottom kind of look to it. It doesn't really look like it wants to break down underneath the 20 cent range over here, right? We'll see. You have some higher beta meme coins like Bonk. It kind of went through that, a little bit like Bitcoin, but still it's not as bad as Bitcoin, right? You have Shiba Inu, which has yet to fill this wick over here. You have Pepe, which has, again, filled up the wick over here, went down a little bit more, but it's not really like doing anything crazy, right? HBAR did the same thing, filled the wick here with some candlestick. XLM did the same thing. Solana's really been severely underperforming. This is a bad look for Solana. And Chainlink, a little bit underperforming, filling the wick, but again, doesn't look as bad as Bitcoin, right? So you're talking about a lot of these, and one of those that are outperforming is ADA. Cardano actually is outperforming Bitcoin right now in terms of a recent drop, right? You have big giant wick down below, but we barely even fill just maybe even half this wick over here candlestick. So it's looking pretty decent overall for altcoin in terms of that. Maybe we're experiencing a little bit of rotation. Look at others chart. This is the cryptocurrency market cap excluding the top 10 coins. It looks like I've thrown a little bit of a bear flag over here, but it's important to realize what happened over the last 3 days. Altcoins did nothing, right? It did nothing when Bitcoin plummeted all the way from 96,000 all the way to 84, 83,000. Like, you know, it's a very important thing to take into consideration here. I think there's maybe a little bit of rotation, a little bit of change of behavior in terms of Bitcoin and altcoins, right? I also want to point out something here too, and this is not an absolute thing or anything like that. You see how MSTR is also doing the same thing. You know, it's basically got a gap down over here in the last few days, has been pretty brutal for MSTR. It's also been really brutal for a lot of the miners here too. They just kind of plummeted all the way down. But on a day like today and yesterday, you know, when you had Bitcoin going down further, you actually have Mara actually holding relatively strong. Mara actually went back up here because of good earnings. CleanSpark on a day when Bitcoin yesterday went down a lot more. CleanSpark just kind of hang around here, didn't really go down a lot further, right? Just something to kind of take into consideration over here. So I think we might be having a little bit of rotation that could be happening on, you know, behind the scenes here, that are something that's very interesting to think about. A lot of these miners, they're basically just plummeting down to try to hit their lower Bollinger Band here on the weekly, right? Like CleanSpark did that after it broke down to 20, after it had a hard time breaking through the 20-week moving average, decided to come down to the lower Bollinger Band, right? Mara did the same thing, had a hard time breaking through the 20-week moving average, came back down, back test the lower Bollinger Band here, bounced pretty hard, right? And you look at Bitfarms, Bitfarms did the same thing to the lower Bollinger Band, although this is a very much a parabolic downtrend here. Looks pretty bad, right? Cypher, same thing, to the lower Bollinger Band. Iron, why did Iron underperform today? Why did it go down 6% and everything else just kind of go down 1 or 2% or none at all? Mara went down, went up 5%, 7%, 8%, 15% earlier in the day. Well, because Iron still hasn't touched the lower Bollinger Band. Like it was kind of lagging behind on this correction here a little bit compared to everything else. Wolf touched the low Bollinger Band here this week, right? Of course, why did we end up going up? Well, because it was way underneath the low Bollinger Band, decided to just kind of push price back up here, right? Riot did the same thing, touched the low Bollinger Band. HUT, it has yet to touch the low Bollinger Band. I'm not sure it was going to. This is one of the more bullish stocks here for miners, right? Look at MSTR, it has yet to touch the low Bollinger Band. Doesn't mean that MSTR is going to have a little bit more room to go. Maybe it depends on what Bitcoin does. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin has a little bit lower to go. Maybe, right? But we're also at a very important fit level. We'll see how the week closes. Usually when your price kind of break down underneath the 20, even it's very positive sloping, by the way, which is why I think that we might end up holding over the next 3 days. We'll see. But when you have price kind of break down underneath the 20, usually it ends up touching the lower Bollinger Band. So there's still a chance for it to kind of go down lower to 70,000. Although I'm not sure if it's going to. It doesn't always have to do that. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a fake out, and then it just kind of go the other way, right? But usually when you break through the midline over here, it does tend to go a little bit further down to the other side of the band. So we'll see. Like, this is something that I am kind of thinking, hey, Bitcoin to 70,000 is not out of the question here, but we are at a very important fit level. So take that with a grain of salt, whatever you want to do. That's, you know, nothing's really a certain thing here. Coinbase, can Coinbase go down a little bit further to like 189, 190, touch the lower Bollinger Band? Certainly entirely possible. Coinel, the 2x version, is getting close to doing that too. What is stopping it from doing that, well, is the Ichimoku cloud. Look at a pretty decent thick cloud over here. Maybe it's just going to find support here. If Ichimoku doesn't have to go all the way down to like 170s, 190, maybe not. I don't know. A lot of people are eyeing the closure of this gap over here. The gap's going to end up closing at 197.25. Doesn't mean that has to close. Maybe you're building a little bit of like a island, you know, reversal potentially. Look kind of here. You got 3 candles over here. Even Bitcoin went down a lot further. Coinbase actually was holding pretty well, right? So I don't know. It just seems that this is the flush that they wanted to do. Initially, if you didn't end up capitulating during this move down here, this is also another capitulation move over here. Two capitulation moves over here. Actually feel pretty good about where we're at right now in terms of Coinbase. So yeah, I'm not really that bearish on Coinbase. Matter of fact, I'm actually, if I have new money coming in, this is one of the stocks that I would probably end up, maybe try to allocate a little bit more funds into doing too. I also still like the BTBT chart, because BTBT chart really is, to me, is just a back test of this trend line over here. From the top over here, you have a point touch over here. You have a little bit of one in the breakout here, back tested it almost perfectly. This to me looks pretty decent. That really reminds me of what SoFi ended up doing before it broke out. I don't know if you remember, SoFi has like a very, very similar trend line over here. Actually, matter of fact, I think there's a very similar trend line over here. Broke through, broke back down below a little bit, had a little bit of a false breakdown, and then just moved from there, right? So I like where BTBT is at right now, actually. Maybe what we've been experiencing, was this is maybe a little bit of false breakdown, and then just push through, and this is the back test. So we'll see. I could be very wrong. Global liquidity could be plummeting. Is global liquidity plummeting? Is this something that we need to worry about? Not really, because if you're also looking at the weekly, let me see, I want to look at it. Yeah, you look at a weekly chart over here. Question is, let's put up the M2 global liquidity index here. Does it look like it's plummeting? Not really. I think if anything, it's just been making a high here. And I think we already had I keep showing this because I think it's important to take that into consideration. I think we had a big giant range over here where global liquidity did nothing for about like 3 years, and we broke through that here, back tested it, and I think right now we just keep building up a little more energy, correcting things here before we go up, right? So I'm not really that worried in terms of where we're at in the cycle. And sometimes you have a breakout and a back test here to global liquidity. It doesn't mean that it's just going to immediately go up. Just like over here, you have the same thing, right? You have global liquidity getting stuck here until you break through and back test. The back test was happening in COVID. There's a big giant downtrend over here that happened, and next thing you know, you have increased global liquidity, and Bitcoin's just kind of moving from there. So maybe this is our COVID moment without actual COVID. We'll see. I don't know. All I say is that we're at a good fit level. We are at, we just broke down underneath the support band, but the week is not over. We are also at a potential again, arc support over here around 87,000. So we'll see how it reacts moving forward. But overall, like macro-wise speaking, I don't think the cycle is over. There's really like nothing to really convince me that the cycle is over, to be honest with you. It's just been forming higher highs and higher lows, and it's been forming, it's just backtest the arc over here, like it did over here, before it went up to the next arc. So maybe we get to the arc, maybe we don't, maybe we just get to horizontal line here around like 200,000 maybe, or maybe we get to up to the arc here at some point, just like the time before and time before that. Every single time when this happens, global liquidity did a back test and it went up. I think we just are at the juncture of maybe we're getting ready to make some moves soon. We'll see. I don't know. No guarantees in terms of what's happening, but I am still pretty bullish on Bitcoin. The MVRVC score is still not high. Pi cycle top is nowhere near, and we still haven't really had that very important bullish event expansion that happened during every single bull cycle when global liquidity goes up a lot, right? So those are just my food for thought here. I don't have too much else to share. All I have to say is I did end up, trying to allocate more money over the last couple weeks into miners. Maybe it is a mistake because of just how parabolically downtrend they are experiencing right now. But I think they're trying to find a bottom. I think they're trying to find a bottom here. And it's tough to say for sure because just how parabolically down they are. But some of these charts actually look pretty good here on the daily. So we'll see what happens after that. And then we'll kind of take it there one step at a time. As long as we're directionally correct for the cycle, I don't really care whether or not it goes up or down. If I'm down on a position 30, 40, 50%, I honestly don't care. Which I am down by about that much, like I think 35 to 40% on CleanSpark. I think I'm down maybe like probably closer to like 35 to 40% on Mara here as well. Cypher, I'm still I think I'm still maybe in profit. You know, but regardless, Iron, I think I'm still in profit, but regardless, this is a pretty brutal sideways action for a lot of these miners. So we'll see what ultimately happens after that. MSTR is still higher low over here, right? That you have to take that into consideration. MSTR is still forming a higher low over here. How low does the higher low get? I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that question, right? It could go all the way down here to the arc. The arc down here is around 230s. It could go all the way down here to the arc, which is not a bad thing because it pushed through the arc here, backtest the arc, and went up to this arc here without backtesting this. Backtesting would actually be, incredibly, bullish. Doesn't mean that it's going to shoot up here to the moon. All it means is just it's finding some solid grounding over here, and that could be an area where you might end up hitting before things bounce. Does it have to come all the way down to this area over here? It depends on what Bitcoin does. I don't know. I'm not just going to say Bitcoin's going to go a lot lower just because it is at the 1.272 and it's holding pretty decent right now. So we'll see. I think this is a necessary move for things to go higher, but how much of a low is this higher low going to be? I don't think anybody really knows the exact answer to that question. The clues from Bitcoin dominance, the clues from altcoins, are that because we haven't really moved down that much on altcoins and on miners over the last couple of days when Bitcoin just kind of went crazy down, for the last couple of days, altcoins and miners didn't really do too much. It does make me wonder whether or not we might be experiencing a rotation relatively soon, right? You can say the same broad market wise. I think that is kind of an interesting thing today where NVIDIA reported okay numbers. They're not exceptional by any means. And you can see how NVIDIA initially didn't really have much of a reaction. And now NVIDIA just had like a negative 6% day. SMCI is basically just plummeting down, even though you had a big move up recently. It's just, I wonder whether or not we're rotating away from some of these previous winners to a lot of the losers that are up and coming. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll keep a close monitor eye on the market, and I would love to make commentaries and try to decipher as much as I can. Just like all of us, I think we all like to try to fix and solve puzzles, and that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't think that the cycle is over yet. Anyway, take care guys, have a good one, bye.